Mr. Trimmer, this is being Mother's Day weekend, and I lost my mother in 1971. You know, might as well say 46 years ago this coming June. And only somebody that's still living that knew my mother was you, Mr. Trimmer. And my mother, when my mother came down here, uh, first of all, my mother was adopted because her mother, which was my grandmother, died at an early age when my mother was a teenager. Okay, so and they was out of Patterson, Texas, out of close to
Brookshire.
Brookshire, Texas,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, I'm finna fill you in on what you didn't know,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
you gonna fill me in what I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, when my mother came down here and my grandmother had died, okay, she was only about 13 years old, and she came down here to stay with her auntie, which her auntie was Rosie. Now, and her husband, they adopted my mother at 13 years old. My mother's name was Lillian Ames, and it was adopted.
Lillian Ames.
That was her name.
Hmm.
So when she got adopted by uh, Rosie, Aunt Rosie, and my uncle, Uncle Joe, and they stayed on Cobb Street, and she moved to stay with them because her mother had died and her father had died, which was my grandfather. He had died when she was about 6 or 7 years old. So therefore, she didn't have a mother and father.
Hmm.
That's why Aunt Rosie, who you knew as what, Mama Rosie?
Mother Hall, wasn't it?
Mother Hall, okay, because that was her last name, Hall. She married Joe Hall.
Right, Mother Hall.
Okay, tell me something about Mother Hall, because y'all stayed on Carl Street before Mama got there.
Mother Hall was very well known that was known as Carter's Addition.
Okay.
And she was a palm reader.
Now we talking about Cobb Street. We talking about Cobb Street.
She lived on Cobb Street in the 3800 block.
Okay.
And what she did, she was a palm reader and a spiritual advisor, spiritual advisor. She read palms.
Right.
Yeah. And she was known for that.
In fact, from what I understood, a lot of people used to come, including Mother McGowan, used to come over there to her.
That's right.
Yeah, and some people might know Mother McGowan. In 1956, my mother was in an accident out in Fort Worth and got shot 3 times.
Mm.
Yeah. And at that time, only county hospital they had was Jefferson Davis. Are you with me?
Yeah, I remember I have a vivid memory for Jefferson Davis Hospital.
Okay, now, it wouldn't be for Dr. Ben Taub because he was the chief doctor at Ben Taub. He the one saved my mother's life and gave me 17 more years to enjoy my mother, as my mother watched me graduate from junior high to senior high and be able to get married and have her first grandchild in 1968. And then in 19... Now, it was some houses, some rent houses, because Mother Hall used to rent out rooming houses.
That's right, she sure did.
I know what I'm talking about, Facebook. I was a little kid, but I ain't forgot.
She's in her backyard.
Huh?
In her backyard, she had the little rooming houses back there.
She had rooming houses, that's right. That's what and when Mama Hall died and passed away, I still wasn't born. And my mother took over those houses with and helped my Uncle Joe manage those rooming houses that was in the back of 3816 Cobbs. Now, from then on, I came along, let's say as the years progressed on and y'all got to be a teenager, you were still a friend of my mother, right?
Right, we were kind of buddies.
Y'all was buddies because it wasn't a whole lot of people on Cobb Street that I'm assuming with you living on Cobbs and she living on Cobb Street, Carl Street was such a big street because first of all, you can never forget about Mr. Perry Land.
No, he lived there on Cobb Street too in 3800 block.
I know he stayed in the
And
3800 block.
I lived in the 3900 block.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about Cobb Street, Mr. Land, Perry Land, and his lovely wife, Miss Land. I know y'all, and in fact, we got one other person living that stayed on Cobb Street, and she's in the hospital, and our prayers go out for her. Bertis Durham. You remember Miss Bertis?
Sure, she had 3 sons and 1 daughter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know she was in the hospital though.
Yeah, well, she just went in the hospital, but she's okay. She's doing fine. Her son, Earl B., which is the oldest, and her other son next to him, Archie Durham, which was next to him. They both sit side by side every night with her at St. Luke's Hospital. So she's doing okay. She's recovering. Now, back to Cobb Street, back to my mother. Now, so you remember when my mother and my daddy got married?
I sure do. Yeah. I didn't go to the wedding, but I remember when she got married.
Okay, well, they moved in the CUNY home, and eventually they moved over there on Cobb Street. Is that right?
I don't know. I didn't.
You knew she stayed on Cobb Street.
See, I left the neighborhood,
Okay.
and see, I was doing high school. I transferred from Yates and went to Wheatley,
Okay.
and I didn't be in the neighborhood too much to really keep up with what was going on.
Okay, because this is during your high school days.
Right.
Okay. Now after you got adult and Mama was already married, you wasn't married to Miss Trim at the time.
No, we got married in 1948.
Okay. Now, in 1948, that was the year I was born. And it's just such amazing because as your first child, Mama first child and only child was me. And, and she had been around other people who had children, which was Aunt Pearlie, which was married to my uncle, which was William Harvey, that used to have the chicken houses. Tell us about the chicken
But
house.
Harvey sold chickens and eggs down there, right next to.
Did he sell a lot of chickens and eggs?
That's right. He sold a lot of chickens and eggs.
I mean, I knew him selling eggs.
He was right next door to Bud's shoe store, shoe fountain.
And he used to sell a bunch of
Bunch of chickens and eggs.
And it was Harvey. That was Harvey chicken.
That's Harvey. That's right.
Harvey chicken.
He didn't have. I don't think he had a sign out there, but everybody knew him as the chicken and egg man.
In other words, they wanted to buy chickens. Where did they go?
They bought it from him.
Okay. Still the store they bought it from Harvey.
Yeah. See, during those years, they used to keep chickens, live chickens, at the neighborhood grocery store. You go in and buy your chicken on foot and take him home and kill him and take the feathers off him and dress him out. But all that kind of stuff finally went away.
Okay, now, back to me. Now, in 1948, the Neals was staying next door to us.
Ulysses Neal.
Okay, and his wife.
And his wife, Myrtle.
Okay. Now, they already had 3 kids.
Was it 3?
They already had 3 kids when you met them. Because Marvin was born on Cobb Street.
Yeah, he was the youngest of all.
Right, but when you first met them, did you remember meeting them later on after Mother? Did you know they lived next door to us?
Yeah, I knew that. I knew why they lived there on Cobb Street. See, Mr. Yale used to run a grocery store right there on the Tower West by the CUNY home.
Okay.
And when they opened up that neighborhood down there on Rose Ridge, which is still there now.
Right, they call
They
that the Canfield Oaks district. They've been historical that district. Okay.
They bought a home there on Rosewood, just a half a block from Texas Southern.
Right. Okay. Now, on the other hand, me coming along in 1948, and that's when you got married, when Mom and Daddy was already en route of having me,
Yeah.
and Marvin was already born there on Cobb Street. Arva hasn't. His baby sister wasn't born yet on Cobb Street.
Well, you know what I said? I said that Marvin was a young. What was he? Was it he or Arva?
He was the only boy, and Arva was the baby.
Oh, she was a baby.
As soon as Arva was born on Cobb, but as soon as she got Miss Neal and them got, I think, a little bit out the hospital, that's when she moved over there on Rosewood.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But when they first started living on Cobb Street, because Marvin, Miss Neal, and my mother was real close.
Yeah.
If you can never remember that, they were real
Yeah.
close friends.
Yeah.
Because my mother didn't have a sister. So,
No, she did not.
no, she did not have a sister. So she adopted when her and Miss Neal got to stand next door to each other. Miss Neal became her sister that she never had.
Okay.
So when Marvin was pregnant, when Miss Neal was pregnant with Marvin, my mother went to the hospital with her
Yeah.
because to have a son. And she didn't have no kids. She didn't have no boys. Marvin was the first boy
And only.
and only boy. There you go. And then when my mother finally got pregnant in 1948, it seemed like it was a domino effect.
Yeah.
Because when my mother got pregnant in 1948 with me, it wasn't too much longer you and Miss Trimmer gave birth to Rosalind.
That's right, my oldest daughter.
In 1949, if I'm not mistaken, how close am I?
I think you're right. 49. September.
I'm on the money. I'm on the money.
September the 5th.
I did my homework. People watch my YouTube, they know Boo Lee do his homework. Now, Boo Lee didn't do no homework in school. Now, I amen to that. But when it comes putting these documentations together, I got my homework together.
In the history of the neighborhood.
And when you moved down there on Cobb Street, you and your wife, was that the first house y'all had?
I was born down there. I was born in 1922, right there, 3919 Cobb Street, which was the hardcore country.
Okay.
My daddy sold wood, because, wood was the thing of the day back there. They cooked and heated with wood, and my daddy sold wood. We delivered wood all over Third Ward.
That's why y'all knew so much about part of Third Ward and being able, because during them days, people didn't have electric stoves.
Back then, if you owned a wood yard, you were a big businessman as a black man selling wood.
Because everything was done by wood. You stayed warm with the heater with wood. You ain't had no electrical thing. You cooked by wood on a wooden stove.
Right there on Cobb, where it is now Cobb and Wheeler. It used to be.
What was that neighborhood was on Cobb Street? Somebody said one time it was called West Sampson Street or West Alabama.
Well, Sampson was, it was west side, but it really didn't go all the way back where Cobb is now, because it's just about, Texas Southern has just about took all that in.
Right, but it started on Holman, right?
The first name it had was Galveston, and it eventually changed it from Galveston to East Sampson, and later to Cobb.
So it went through 3 different names.
Because they changed it from Sampson because it was East Sampson. And there's another Sampson that takes from Southmore going down to the bayou.
Right.
And they had to change it because of they were about a half a mile between the two.
Okay.
They didn't want. One wasn't the extension of the other. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because the other Sampson went straight on all the way down through the bayou, which was going towards the Jewish neighborhood.
Well, at that time, see, Sampson used to dead end right there. Where Rosewood is now, but when you left there, you were going into the woods.